It's going to be one crazy week. That's my only prediction. No, we got a long episode here on the CIRF report. This CIRF report from July 22nd to July 28th. Welcome. What we're trying to do here is to give you a heads up on what collective influences to expect and what those are going to feel like in the coming week. The reason why we do this is because there are hidden influences from the collective unconscious. That was Carl Jung's theories. We also have subliminal messaging. We also have energies from outside the planet. And that's why we do these reports, is because you don't, these aren't reported lots of people have astrology reports, which is one of the things we'll be talking about, but the collective unconscious, we superimpose over that and we look for triangulation. We look for overlaps. So anyway, what we're going to do here is look for the overlap of this week's influence from a collective standpoint. And then towards the end, the most important part of this is triangulating for the solution to know what to do with this energy so that you don't fall into the pits, or you don't stumble, or you don't go the opposite direction than we should be going. So that's the most important part, and that's going to be towards the end. I expect this particular report to be fairly long because there's so much going on in the collective. This is our summary slide. And the reason why I think it looks sort of naked is because I've left a lot of the tropical astrology out of it. There's so many oppositions, but that's just scratching the surface. We got the full moon in Aquarius. You got Mercury combust. You got Sun going into Leo. You got Venus going into Virgo, I think. We'll look at that. We have 4 retrograde planets, and we have some fixed signs, some things that we've never talked about. And we'll talk about day by day there. Over in the Dreambot, this one is equal to the small circle, the green circle here. And the reason why is because the Dreambot, which represents Carl Jung's collective unconscious, is the memes, the themes inside of the bot run aren't all that strong. We'll go more into detail, but the strongest one is travel. And that matches directly with the I-Ching 33, hexagram 33, which is retreat. And I believe that the reason why I chose when I look at the overlap, this overlap of all 3 circles is right here. And then I take that and try to put a label on it. And I chose eyes wide open because I think this is what's preceding the retreat. There's a lot of retreat sort of things in the astrology, but if you look more at the astrology, it's going to be a tough week. It's going to be confusing. It's going to be thoughts and communication sort of scrubbed or washed out or confusing. And so when you look at all this confusion, I think a lot of people are just going to be overwhelmed and sort of retreat or give up. So it's the eyes wide open, maybe not so much in shock, but in like a curious sort of standpoint, or I didn't know that. I guess that'd be more of shock, but also overwhelm. Eyes wide open, like a full plate. Like, you order something at the restaurant and it's like heaping food. And what do? You're like, whoa. I think that's what this week sort of feels like to me. And we have a high congruency score, meaning that everything's overlapped. Yeah, the Dreambot's not all that big, but it's directly overlapped, which is very high in congruency. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started with the Dreambot next. Let's see here. Yes, I went straight to the Zoom. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Thank you, everybody, for your likes and shares. The National Dream Center is growing here on YouTube and Rumble, getting more and more views there. And also Telegram. We have more on that later, but the link to Telegram channel is down below. And I can't believe the great information. And of course, you can't trust everything. You do have to do your due diligence no matter what information you're getting from any source. But Telegram offers us so much information. It's awesome. All right. So what is this? This is the collective unconscious. This is called the dream bot. And we look for memes. This is from people's dreams at the collective level. So around the world, people have submitted their dreams within 24 hours. This represents the last 24 hours of dreams. And then we look for themes inside this list. And there just isn't all that much. I mean, the biggest one here is travel, but it's sort of loose. You got bus, somewhere, east, nearby, train. It's sort of loose, but it indicates travel. I mean, it's a definite theme here. But the other one is consistent from the standpoint of this is what we've had for several weeks now, is this other side thing, this the hidden, the spiritual side, whatever you want to call it. It's, again, not very tight theme. So you got ghosts and darkness and believe, clouds. That's not, it's just really loose, but it's there. And the word ghosts has been in the Dreambot runs for at least 2 weeks, or at least 2 weeks. That's a long time for a word to hang out there. So that's interesting. That what that means is the collective is thinking or dreaming about ghosts. Why? Why now? Is there anything in the news that's creating that? Sometimes that's called day residue, but other times we're seeing things in the future, and this is why certain words pop out. All right, let's get into the astrology, but first, let's do a shout out to some comments. Now, I know these comments are from Telegram, and I want to do just a general shout out to all the folks over at YouTube who provided comments. Thank you, and keep that going. It helps the algorithm. We are growing over on YouTube. We are growing over on Rumble. Every episode will go to YouTube and Rumble, and then you'll get the indications. You get the latest updates from Telegram, and that Telegram is down below. These comments came from Telegram recently. Rita says, thank you for your amazing reports. Thanks, Rita. I appreciate that. And this community can only grow in unity and healing. I absolutely agree. And that the reason why it's a huge shout out to Rita is not only because this is the vision I have, but the deeper mission for the National Dream Center is this: healing the collective unconscious. Because when we finally get things revealed in the age of Aquarius, there is a lot that's going to be needing healing. And one of those is the collective mind. Not even especially the individuals. Yes, the individual minds, but the collective mind. We're going to have to clean that up. And that's what starts here at National Dream Center. And then Jammer, so thanks, Rita. And Jammer 777, I believe, is new, says this: all is going down. End of July and first couple of weeks of August, going to be biblical. I know, we've heard this before, but I want to just, say, hey, if Jammer is right on all this, and we have just a couple weeks to try this out, we've got ourselves a really great source, don't we? But does the astrology match what Jammer's? I think it does. And so, it's still possible. Get ready for truth in the world to be taken back for the people. Amen to that one. And welcome, Jammer. All right. So here's the overview of the astrology. We've got Venus. Where did I see her? Well, Mercury changing sign, Sun changing sign, and Venus changing sign. I don't know where that is to show you, but it's happening. And then we got the adjustments. Adjustments gives way to oppositions. We have oppositions galore. That represents sort of disorientation. There's a need for balance when you have oppositions, and we're including the full moon in Aquarius. That's an opposition. It's a balancing requirement. It's forcing you, it's putting you off balance in order for you to balance those two concepts or those two ideas or those two behaviors in your life. And then we're going to be talking about what fixed means in astrology. I don't think we've ever talked about this, but I noticed something that is very critical, especially on that full moon. So expect some tipsy, some confusion. There's going to be a Mercury combust. You can see here, he's not quite within my expectations of proximity to the sun. But once he gets closer, Mercury, which represents mind and thoughts and communication, even short-term travel, are sort of confused. It's weakened. Mercury's going to be weakened, but not right now. Right now, Mercury's in Cancer, doing fine, going direct, and creating that same triangle we saw last week with the sun. So what does that mean? Well, it means that Mercury is balancing between inner power, finding inner power, but also sort of going through an upheaval. And that's the destroyer is what Pluto is, but that's not, it's not an easy line. It's about balancing those two. So, you take this on the one hand, things feel like death and rebirth. And on the other hand, my logical mind is easily swayed by dreams and fantasy, and that's an escapism. That's the Neptune here. But there's that quiet little sextile, which is an opportunity. And you've got the opportunity to bring in some really cool transformations of your thoughts through dreams and the other side, basically. So there's an opportunity of half of this week, probably into the weekend. The big news here are that Venus has gone into Virgo, which makes relationships a little bit more, detailed, picky. That's sort of the dark side of Virgo. But earthy and grounded and practical, getting things done. So it's a lot less passion. Remember Venus in Leo? This is the last, few weeks that we've been feeling a lot more, flighty in relationships and just want to have fun and, screw everything. Let's just have fun. Well, now the fun's over, at least for the harmony, from the Venus side, the harmony and the relationships turn more to the details. And then you have the sun going into Leo, and that's sort of as Venus leaves, the sun comes into Leo. And this is Roar, the big tiger, but the inner child comes out. This is the explorer and wonderment of being a child. This is eyes wide open. That's the biggest of the eyes wide open. That's the physical side. And as you perceive the world around you in the physical sense, we have another eyes wide open throughout this Dreambot, throughout this week that I'll talk about. But Leo is a lot of fun. It's entertaining, and it's going to feel like you just want to have fun. See, so now let's look at through these alignments. These are confusing. These are causing tipsy sort of sensations because there's just so much. It's causing overwhelm. And Sun going into Leo sort of says, you know what? I don't care. I just want to go have fun. And so that's why this eyes wide open thing is indicated, in my opinion. It's not so much shock. I would be happy if it was shock in a good way. Disclosure and whatever else coming out, that would be great. But I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting more of just everything is so confusing and overwhelmed. I just want to go have fun. So sort of turning your back to the confusion and then seeing what pleasure you can have over there. All right. On Thursday, the 23rd, you can just see the mess. The Mercury is not quite combust yet. So just a lot of oppositions. This is sort of feeling out of balance. As other things erode, remember you've got Uranus square Saturn, which is The change is rubbing the status quo raw right now, and it is all year long. So that's still happening. And then later on the 23rd at 9:36 p.m., that's Central Time, we've got a full moon in Aquarius, 1 degree, 26 minutes. I find that interesting. I was born on January 26th, so that's 1/26. All that has nothing to do with this. Just neat for me. I don't know if that's really going to pan out for anything, but thought I'd throw that out. But this full moon in Aquarius, remember that sun just went into Leo. So you've got the inner child, the inner boy inside, the inner tiger with wonderment and no preconceived notions and maybe wanting some recognition, but that's shining up on this bright full moon in Aquarius. And this is our second eyes wide open, not only because you've got the sun energy shining on the moon, but now you have Aquarian full moon. First of all, Aquarius is already eccentric and, doesn't really care about, doesn't even think that they're being seen right now. They're invisible. So they can be quirky and weird all they want. They assume nobody can see them. They don't want to be seen. But this full moon is being seen in a big way, big and bold. And full moons typically make people crazy. Now, you include this with the other concepts of Aquarius, like openness, knowledge. So we have like a knowledge awareness wide open. So it's like more of an intellectual eyes wide open, your intellectual eyes wide open. And now what I want to show you is these tiny little letters. It says fixed. You have cardinal and fixed and mutable. Well, the majority of these planets are in fixed signs. And what that means is that, the influence is that you can get more stuff done. You can get stuff done. You're committed to a task. And the people with a lot of fixed planets in their chart means that they are most powerful when they are on their life mission. The downside is that they're not very flexible. Fixed planets are not very flexible, and they can be hard to let go of things, but they can see through a project. They can see a project through. They can get something started, and if they're committed to it, they can really finish it well without getting sidetracked. But specifically to Aquarius, I liked this quote from the web. A fixed air Aquarius fixes on a continuum that reaches into the future and can doggedly push for reform or spend a lifetime on their personal inventions. Some water bearers are dogmatic and even condescending to those that don't get their genius. Genius is part of the Aquarian. That's the intellectual side. And, this really goes well with that Mercury Cazimi, but also the Mercury opportunities that we had for thoughts and communication. The full moon in Aquarius could release more of this genius, knowledge, disclosure, just realness from the other side, and on, like the hidden things. So releasing what used to be hidden. That's otherwise known as disclosure. The last thing I want to mention on this day, there's a lot going on the 23rd, but at the time of this full moon, the part of fortune is on the descendant. It's setting. It's just set. So that's going to feel, or could feel for a lot of you, very unfortunate. It could feel like, well, that's not fair. Or you might feel like, why me? I don't know, for whatever's going on. But if you sense this confusion energy, you're might have something happen on the other side of this balancing thing, and you're going to pick up on the negative side, so the unfair side, and you'll mention that. But I just want to, for those of you who are taking notes, remember, when you feel this unfortunate, or why me, or it's not fair, automatically you're going to have something on the opposite end of that spectrum, on a continuum, on the other end of the balance beam. And so look for it. Look for the positive. In this week, the upside and the downside, both, is that there's so many oppositions coming that if you only pick up one side, like good or bad, there is definitely the other side indicated. So make sure you see it from a whole perspective this week. Perspective is a big thing this week. And that goes well with Aquarius. Perspective. Saturday, 24th, fixed signs. There's still 5 of them. You got the moon coming into Saturn, so making it emotionally invested in the status quo. There's going to be a stronghold in the side of this struggle that wants to keep things the same, and they've got their mission, and it's going to be emotionally invested. I'm not saying they're going to win the battle or anything. It's just the emotions are behind that now. Take it or leave it. Sunday, the 25th. The Mercury now is considered combust. And my definition is within 8 degrees. They're not parallel, meaning they're not in the azimuth, or they're in the same azimuth side, but in terms of longitude, they're not in that same piece of sky. So they're not going to be a cazimi, at least for now. That could change as we get closer, and I'll keep a tab on that. But for now, combust. And what does that mean? Well, they're getting within each other's, getting close to each other, which means that Mercury is going to get burned out by the sun. Now they're quite some distance away, so the thoughts and communication and short-term travel and education, they're not going to be too, hurt at this point, but they're going to degrade more and more as Mercury gets closer and closer to the sun. There's lots of imbalance here. I think this is the record amount of oppositions this week is on the 25th. 1 second. Now we get into Monday, and you can see the only thing in the sky other than that square and that opportunity that we already talked about is the need for balance. And so it's that tipsy feeling yet again. On Tuesday, there's only 4 fixed. So you have a sort of a reprieve from this stubborn sort of feeling. And you pick up Venus trine Uranus. And what that means is easy change in relationships. That's Venus. And you might have an overhaul in finance, material finance. And this is easy energy. So it doesn't mean that it's going to feel good, but hopefully it will for you. This is Uranus, the eccentric one, the mad scientist. And that easy energy on the material, Taurus, material, is going to make some changes, and fast changes to, well, beauty, your sense of beauty, your sense of duty in relationship, but also finance might have a big change, you personally or on a grand scale. And then finally, Wednesday, this is the last day of our CIRF week. We have 6 fixed signs. So this is the biggest day of all the days of this CIRF week where you're feeling like obligated. You're feeling like maybe shame if you don't pick up something, some task, and commit to it. You feel really empty if you don't do that as well. And if you're already on a project, you might be overly committed to it. Can't see the forest through the weeds. Can't see the big picture on this project. Just want to get it done. That sort of thing. So very goal-oriented as well. Also stubborn. You might feel stubborn on this, extra stubborn on Wednesday. So if you do, that's the time to pay attention to the solutions, which is going to be talked about here shortly. All right, now let's get rid of the highlighter, and we have the I-Ching. Hexagram 33 with 1 change line. The feeling the influence according to the I-Ching is retreat. And here's what it means. I think we're retreating from too much imbalance, too much polarization, too many oppositions, too much crazy energy. I think that's what the feeling is of retreat. But here's what it means. All worthy goals meet some resistance. When negative forces predominate, a well-timed retreat can be a good move for keeping your energy up and allowing you to persevere. Strategic retreat is not to be confused with escape or surrender. We're not escaping, we're not surrendering. There's not a whole lot of Neptune in this week. Sometimes it is necessary to slow down, let go, or move back to a better position yourself for future moves, or to draw an opponent closer. Timing is critical, as is positioning and considerations of personal security. Periods of withdrawal or retreat call for cool-headedness, so keep your wits about you. Attend to the details. That's the Venus in Virgo. Waves of progress are short-lived. Strive to attune yourself to the ups and down cycles of life. If you want something, allow it to come to you. And line 5 says, the key is maintaining a clear focus and maintaining resolute action. That's all the advantages of the fixed signs. Once your mind is made up, do not let yourself be distracted by lesser concerns. So there's not just downsides to all the fixed energy. There's also upsides. There's also advantages. And one of those is clear focus, taking resolute action. So one of the hints for the solution this week, and we're not in the solution section, but I'll throw it out there, is use the fixed planets to your advantage, which is commit to something. Burn that in your awareness. If you're already a fixed sort of person, like Taurus or Aquarius, then make sure that you watch out for being too stubborn. I'm going to talk a lot about this later. All right, it's time for the solution. So shifting gears, when you put that change line in, now you get hexagram 56, fire over a mountain. And I question, is that the volcano? I know there's a lot of volcanoes going on recently. It's the Wanderer, and it's sort of that inner child, the Leo, as the sun goes into Leo. Wanderer knows that it is something difficult to discern the intentions of strangers. Are they hostile or friendly, or merely opportunistic? The twin houses of mystery and discovery rule any journey we take. Each new day is launched with a fresh landscape, one that reaches out to grab attention, our attention. This is the Leo. This is the using the solution from the Leo energy. If you are entering a new environment, be sincere, flexible, undemanding, rather than stubborn. Now we're talking about avoiding the downsides of fixed energy. Onset of a great journey is not a favorable time to enter into binding agreements or to start new enterprises. Okay. Being the Wanderer offers you a certain freedom from being judged by your history, but you also have no history to fortify you. So don't rely on your history. You have a clean slate this week, according to the I-Ching. So then I put it into the calculator so that we can transition into the Sidereal Astrology. And we get the full moon at 1 degree 26 minutes. That's hexagram 60 in the rave. And then it's going to be Capricorn. It says that full moon whips around there pretty quick. It's going to spend most of its time this week in Capricorn. So it's the Capricorn solution that we're going to talk about. And here is the rave. It's the gate of acceptance. Oof, this is a hard one, folks. Hold on. Because think about it. As you've got all these oppositions and confusing energies swirling around everywhere. One of the hardest things to do is going to be accepting. What is it that you're accepting? So this one's going to be potentially confusing. But if you want something to accept, it's mutation. This is the energy of limitation. This gate is the pulsing pressure to mutate. Maybe Jammer 777 was correct. This week is the mutation pulse. Acceptance of limitation is the heart of one's process. Otherwise, the energy can manifest as chronic depression. So when we take a little closer look into the hexagram 60, the line, the full moon, is actually on or in line 6, rigidity. Whew. That's the fixed signs again. Wow. It's like a continuum this week. Oppositions and rigidity is basically what we're looking for. All right. The acceptance of limitation is the first step in transcendence. The intuitive intellect to recognize when absolute rigidity is essential, but with innovative applications to lessen its severity. That's a mouthful. I think it's more important to read this next sentence. A fixed energy that is unusual in its capacity for restraint. So a fixed energy. But check this out. To recognize when absolute rigidity is essential. We just talked about how to not be rigid, didn't we? All right, let's take a little short break and talk about the ultimate, the summary slide. Main influence, main solution. Hang on. And go to interzention.com for all sorts of things for personal growth, mental health, astrology readings, human design readings, hypnotherapy, past life regression. There is a lot of content there for free, like endocannabinoid, PhD paper, etc. All right, here we go. Zoom in. We've got eyes wide open. And you can see here, it's not like this guy is surprised. This kid's not surprised. He's opening his eyes on purpose. The eyes wide open is more of a getting your eyes open or opening your awareness. That's the influence. Okay. And then here's the solution. And we're going to triangulate really quick. We had I-Ching 56, enhance your flexibility. And we had the rave, knowing when to be super rigid. Those are two contradictory things, right? Then we had Sidereal Capricorn, which is ambitious, prudent, responsible. That's the, all of this has its application on the fixed signs. So we can see that the fixed signs are on here because Capricorn is, although a cardinal sign, the Capricorn goat is very similar in its attributes as a fixed sign. So I find that interesting. Okay, so overall triangulation. So how do we work out these contradictions seemingly? So the various solutions this week are commensurate with an Aquarius full moon, which is, crazy. Expect other people to feel crazy. There's a lot of sporadic energy all over the place, need for balance, feeling tipsy, all that kind of stuff. With 5 planets in fixed signs, we might have a hard time changing and adapting. So that's the focus this week. According to the rave, there is a powerful burst of mutation energy requiring the irony of having both acceptance but also commitment with rigidity. Meanwhile, the I-Ching encourages us to stay curious and enhance flexibility. That's matched by Sun going into Leo. They're very flexible. They're very curious, or they can be. So begin with a curious awareness. This is eyes wide open. Eyes wide open, looking for what's possible in mutation. And then use values to determine what change to pursue or to hitch to. So using your values to use that fixed energy to commit to something. How and what are you going to commit to? Well, what's important to you? Duh. Look for what's important to you. What's going to give you lifelong satisfaction, not just these quick highs and escapes and pleasure seeking. That's not indicated today or this week. All right. So determine what change to pursue. Once that's locked in, invoke your best Capricorn behaviors with ambition and prudence, and be disciplined with a goal-oriented mindset. That's also the fixed signs. Best awareness is to keep monitoring. The best awareness to keep monitoring. This is sort of the graduate level stuff. If you can remember this as the solution, you're going to do really well, in my opinion. So keep monitoring the continuum of flexibility versus rigidity. And what do you do with that information? First of all, just notice. Step 2, accept. That's the gate of acceptance that gives you into the rave mandala. And then sidereal Capricorn. So step 3 is commit to and start doing it. Start your ambition towards that goal, for lack of a better word. But above all, just notice the requirement to balance out flexibility and rigidity. And I don't think you can go wrong this week with a whole lot of acceptance. One more thing here that I'm just noticing here is be aware that there's a lot of acceptance doesn't mean surrendering. So in order to, change back and forth from rigidity and flexibility, you need to first accept where you are right now, or what everything from the past up to present moment has to be accepted. And then you can decide through the fixed, through the Capricorn, through your Mercury opportunity is, what should I do next? And make a decision, make a contract, that sort of thing. All right. I know I'm confused too, but that's the best I can do. The biggest things to look for are the fixed nature of this week, sort of the rigidity, but the need for flexibility according to the I-Ching, but also the oppositions. Also, other people acting erratic. Full moon in Aquarius. People are going to be acting erratic as if they don't already. So this is going to be nuts. All right, folks. Thanks for the comments. Keep those coming and let's have a conversation. Make sure you get on Telegram and let's do some more talking, okay? Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.